Welcome to the workshop meeting of April 7th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there any public comment before we begin our workshop meeting? Hearing none. We will move on to our first presentation, Rocco's at 200 Allenwood Road. Enter here, here you are.
I was wondering if I was able to pass this out to the board. This is just, like a couple different views of what the unit would look like.
Okay, please introduce yourselves, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Winter. I'm the Director of Operations for Rocco's Restaurant Group. We currently own and operate 13 of these food kiosks out front of Home Depots in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. We've been doing business exclusively with Home Depot for the last 25 years. We now have a contract with them for expansion in all 3 states of all available Home Depots in those 3 states. This one, located at 200 Allenwood Road, is one of the stores that they approved us for. So we are here tonight to get the board's favorable vote for a land development waiver of the non-permanent food kiosk that we would like to install there on site.
Good evening. My name is John DiBenedetto, and I'm the architect for Rocco's. I've been in private practice since 1980. I'm a registered architect in the state of Pennsylvania and 7 other states. And I'm certified by the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. I'm a longstanding member of the Society of American Registered Architects, in which I've been elected to their College of Fellows. I've designed and constructed several building types, including schools, multifamily, single-family housing, office buildings, shopping centers, industrial buildings, restaurants, medical offices, and retail stores for national companies from Massachusetts to California. I've been approved and accepted as an expert witness by 10 municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania and 6 municipalities in New Jersey, and I ask to be accepted by this board.
This is just an informal presentation, so now is there a hearing for it.
Okay. The subject site is an existing 114,450 square foot Home Depot store located at Allenwood Road and Ridge Pike. Rocco's takeaway food facility is a pre-manufactured kiosk, 8'6" wide by 30 feet long, 10 foot high, 1-story structure with a non-permanent vestibule attached to the front. This unit is placed in front of the existing Home Depot store and sits on the existing 12-inch thick concrete slab and connects to the existing Home Depot's utility systems. We suggest that the land development requirements for this site have already been calculated, executed, and approved by the township for the Home Depot development. The Rocco's store does not affect the impervious cover, the stormwater management, the vehicular circulation, or customer safety in any way. All of these conditions have been previously addressed and resolved. It is Home Depot's request to add Rocco's to their facilities as a service to their customers. There are 13 Home Depot locations that have Rocco's stores installed, with many more planned for the immediate future. This proposed installation will enhance the customer experience and in no way will detract from the value of this or neighboring properties. In fact, we submit that this will be welcomed by the community. We respectfully request exemption from the land development requirement for this use. I'll take questions.
You said it's going to be in front of the Home Depot at that concrete slab. Is that currently where contractors park to load?
Yeah, if you refer to the photograph, that's an indication. It's not exactly the handout that Mr. Winter gave you is the actual unit, but it'll sit right there.
Right, so where will those people now go to load their trucks?
Well, the loading there is just specifically underneath the contractor vestibule. That space in front of the Rocco's is a fire lane. They shouldn't be loading their vehicles there.
Sorry,
So to your left,
so where the canopy is?
where the canopy is, there's probably 8 to 12 parking spaces under that canopy for contractors to load. Where that truck is parked is in the fire lane. They're not supposed to be loading in that fire lane vehicles.
Rocco's is going to be in the fire
We're
lane?
not going to be in the fire lane. So from the front of the Home Depot store to the fire lane, there's 16 feet 9 inches on the front of the store before the fire lane starts.
It's an operational issue that you're asking about, and Home Depot manages that pretty well, so there's really no conflict.
Can you talk a little bit more about the non-permanent, the vestibule that it sounds like in the winter weather would be added to the structure, to the trailer?
Yeah, it's about 5.5 feet wide and 15 feet long, maybe, and it's just to protect customers from weather.
Is that a 12-month thing because, it rains all year?
Yeah.
No, so the top of the vestibule is an awning that is separate from the panels that are on the front and the sides. So in the nice months, the awning will remain, but the sides and the front are taken off, just to keep customers out of the rain. But it's put on in the colder months to keep people more comfortable out of the wind, the snow, and stuff like that.
Will there be table and chairs in that vestibule?
No, it's specifically takeout only. All of our stores are takeout only.
Have some questions for? Well, I have more questions, but I didn't want to monopolize. I'll have some. Please go ahead. So, bathroom and hygiene facilities. What are those for customers and really important workers?
Correct. So at all of our 13 locations, we have express permission from Home Depot to use their bathroom facilities. And the Montgomery County Department of Health approved that letter from Home Depot for our employees to use Home Depot's bathroom facilities.
Is there ever a time where food is being served and Home Depot is not open?
No. We open later than them and we close before them. And if there was an issue, God forbid, where the power went out, they had an issue with their water, we would then have to shut down as well, because you need electric and running water to operate a restaurant, period, but to operate it correctly, you need those two things.
So there will be hot water inside the trailer?
Yes, all the locations come with a 40-gallon hot water heater. So all municipalities are different, but specifically in Montgomery County, we do have a store in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and Montgomery County Department of Health mandates a minimum of a 40-gallon hot water heater.
Our fire marshal has looked at how close this is to the fire lane, and have you looked at that, Mike? And you have any? Do you have any concerns?
They're actually on the sidewalk.
Pardon?
They're on the sidewalk, not in the fire lane, so they're beyond the curb. So they're
That's
taking
okay
up-
by
taking
you?
up the majority of the sidewalk, which doesn't affect the fire lane. Our only concern we raised with them, but I believe codes was okay with it, is they needed to allow for 3 feet, was it? Of continuous sidewalk also in front for people to continue to pass by.
Is that going to be behind the trailer then, the sidewalk?
No, it'll be in front of it.
Oh, okay. So this is right smack up against the Home Depot structure itself?
Correct.
Within inches.
Okay, so what makes this not permanent?
So it's not, so this is like a food kiosk as the handout that I have. So permanent is considered a building. It's considered a structure. This can be hooked to a truck and moved if needed. If this was a permanent building like what we're sitting in, we can't hook this to a truck and move it.
So the fact that it has a trailer hitch and wheels, even though it's almost like a restaurant inside?
Karen,
Yes,
it is-
Jim.
By code, it is a permanent structure because it's fastened, water and sewer and electric are going into Home Depot. So it's not anywhere where they can quickly disconnect it. It's going to be there more than 6 months. By code, it will be permanent.
So it is a permanent structure
Correct.
by our code. Thank you for that.
So even though it has wheels, the idea is it's not going anywhere. Once it's there, it's there. I mean, short of some kind of urgency, emergency.
Sure. So while it's there, it's correct. It's not going to move while it's there.
So you started off by saying it's a non-permanent structure, but in our code definition, it is. So
Well-
how do you get away from land development?
Well, the structure itself, the entity of the trailer is not permanent. So the code says because it's there for more than 6 months, it's permanent. But we're not developing land. We're not pouring any new concrete. We're not doing any land development. This sits on the existing concrete slab per plans. No more impervious surface. Doesn't have any impact on stormwater management.
And we suggest that all of that has already been done for Home Depot.
You mentioned that there are 13 already in other locations. Is there ever a situation where customers feel like it's okay to pull right up and park because they want to just walk out and place their order and now they're in a fire lane?
So we've told customers if they pull up that they have to relocate their vehicle.
All your employees do that?
If we see somebody get out of their vehicle and they walk into the store and they're parked in the fire lane, we ask them to relocate their vehicle.
They're parked in the fire lane and they're getting Italian sausages. Do you tell them that too?
Well, I mean, they could put their order in quickly and then go move their car, but they got to move their car.
But briefly, they're out of their car, unable to move it while they're in a fire lane, and maybe ordering cheesesteaks and sausages for like a whole crew.
Typically, they're parked in a space while they're walking in or out of Home Depot and then go to Rocco's as well. That's the typical situation. They're not really parked in front of Rocco's and then ordering, sort of like you do at Wawa.
Have you done this type of setup in other locations? This permanent, non-permanent trailer?
We have one other location that actually just got converted to a building just because it was an older trailer, but that was at 2200 Oregon Avenue in South Philly for 13 years, this trailer setup.
Was that a land development
No,
13 years ago?
no.
Is there any zoning relief necessary for this project?
I believe after our meeting, Jim, was there any? I don't think Joel said anything.
No, everything's permissible by code and everything. The only thing they would have to go for after you give them waiver for land development is we can't grant them permits without the bathroom, so they would have to go to the Building and Code Appeals Board to get that relief, along with the way they support it. It's anchored to the ground.
And has an application for that been submitted yet?
I'm waiting for all the final specs done to conform with the township from the trailer manufacturer. They have to do like a final set of plans to get done. They manufacture them in Texas, so they have to do a little bit more research to make sure that they're applicable here.
Jim, thank you for that. Sorry to put you on the spot back there.
That's why I'm here.
Appreciate that, Jim. So what's the advantage of getting a land development waiver?
On our end,
Oh, yes.
so then we don't have to file for land development.
About 3 months, they'll say.
An expense.
Okay, thank And
Engi-
Jim?
Engineering?
Engineering, yeah.
Like typically, as you know, land development requires like a topographic survey, whether it's a partial or a full, plus civil engineering. I mean, we could get to $30,000 or $40,000 in professional fees to get this thing.
At least.
In Plymouth Township generally, when council has decided to waive land development, they still have the engineer review all the plans that are necessary, required by the engineer. It just eliminates going to the planning commission and submitting it for the Montgomery County Planning Commission. And then it will not need a final review from council as we would be able to submit and get the permits from Jim and the code office once everything's approved. So it's well, certainly it would speed up 3 months and certain expense. It's not as quick as some other municipalities that approve land development waivers.
Sure.
Jim, I'm just wondering if I can ask, like, do you have any other concerns, words of advice, words of caution, anything for us that we should factor into a decision?
As far as land development, no. We've had several meetings with them and discussed the steps they would need to take to satisfy all of our needs. And they're more than willing to jump through those hoops.
So any waiver would need to be prepared by my office upon the direction of council, and obviously would not be done this evening. They might need time to draft a resolution to put on a future meeting if council's inclined to do that.
Okay.
Council members have questions about Rocco's proposal for a waiver? So, as our solicitor said, we will take this under advisement and, seek legal advice from them and about drafting anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very popular. And hot coffee in the morning.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Now, council has a screen in front of them of what we're looking, okay, thank you.
So welcome. Our next presentation is the Plymouth Ridge Development off of Plymouth Road. So glad to see you all again, and please go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Pianzio. I'm a land use attorney with Hamburg, Rubin, Mullen, Maxwell, and Lupin. To my right is Sal Paone from Sal Paone Builders. We have Rolf Graf here from Landcor. Thanks for this opportunity to come and talk to you guys. We have a proposal that we'd like you guys to consider. We think it's a great idea. We hope that you do too, and we're here to give you some information to hopefully convince you of that. We're here to talk about a property we think you're all aware of, the Exeter property behind the Mission Kids, which have now settled in on that one office building in the front. And what we're left with are 4 large office buildings which have been predominantly vacant for years. It is sandwiched between lots of different things, including the Turnpike apartments, single-family houses, and an industrial park behind Mission Kids. And we have a proposal on how to redevelop it. So as you know, municipalities across the region, basically across the United States, are all suffering vacancies with commercial spaces and office spaces. And we look to redevelop these places to put things that are more productive on the tax rolls than what you're experiencing today, deal with things like traffic and good planning, connectivity, trails, things of that nature, so that we can incorporate the redevelopment of this property with the townhouse use with the surrounding community. Sal here is going to do most of the heavy lifting. There is a shortage of housing that everyone recognizes. We think we can address that.
Yes, it's been quiet relative to traffic for a long time. We know that that's something people have to get used to, but it used to be a thriving office development with lots more traffic than what we're proposing. We have a very short due diligence period. That's why we're here, hoping to get feedback from you folks. The seller has us on a very short leash when it comes to due diligence, so we're looking for your feedback. We have not gotten into land development, honestly or obviously. We're here to ask for a straight-up rezoning to the D district. No text amendments, nothing changing. We propose a development that is less than what the D would permit from a development standpoint. Our plan shows 159 units. We are willing to commit to that, to no more than that, which is less than what would be permitted under the zoning. We can work with your solicitor to make that happen. As we go through land development, we want to be mindful of the surrounding properties, transitioning properly, having that connectivity that I spoke of. We also think that we can find a final resolution for this property once and for all so that it doesn't come to you in piecemeal with different ideas over the years. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sal. We have a PowerPoint that we'll walk through, and off we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Good evening. Good to see you all. It was almost a year ago when we presented to council at the workshop over in the community center. It was pretty informal. We talked concepts, kind of broad strokes. Since then, we've done a lot more work on the property in planning, and as Kristen mentioned, Mission Kids did take ownership in October. They're off to the races. We met with them last week, which I'll come back to, but sounds like they have some great things they're going to do with the building. The properties that we are looking at is kind of in the center of your screen. This is more of a broader view of this area of Plymouth Township. To the bottom, you have Pennsylvania Turnpike 276. Right in the middle, there's a very faint outline in red. Kind of looks like the end of a shovel with the end cut off of it. That's the property we're talking about. That's the whole site, including Mission Kids. And if I zoom in a little bit, that's a better view. Again, right in the middle, there's 5 buildings there. The USI Insurance Services that you see, that is the Mission Kids building. They own that now. The 4 buildings to the bottom, which would be 523, 525, 527, and 531 Plymouth Road, are what we are suggesting and talking about tonight that could be rezoned to D residential. The site today in total is 38 acres. There are 5 office buildings, as you can see, totaling 185,000 square feet. A few years back, Exeter Property Group came in and got a land development approval to change the approvals or the site where these 3 buildings, the Mission Kids building, and then 531 and 523 would remain. And then 525 and 527 down here at the bottom of the screen would be demolished and reconstructed as a 7-story, 245,000 square foot office building. So their total on the site could go from 185,000 square feet to 354,000 square feet. Obviously, Exeter Property Group hasn't done that. This office market has been a struggle, as Kristen mentioned, which brings us here today. So when we start off with our planning for any type of rezoning, we like to look at what the recommendations are from the county to start. That's kind of a macro level view. And this area of Plymouth Township is considered by Montco 2040 to be a regional mixed-use center. Among a variety of other uses, townhouses are a recommended use by Montco 2040 and Montgomery County Plan Commission. And here's the map that shows that area. It's circled in red with an arrow pointing in this location. Since we met back in February, I took a look at the township's comprehensive plan. And I noticed, and I'll thank you for this, that you guys have Cold Point Village, which was a project that we built down at Butler Pike and Plymouth Road on the cover, which was kind of neat. It was nice to see that. But it brought back a memory that when I sat with council 20 years ago now, in a workshop meeting similar to this, one of the members of council said, do something smart. Be thoughtful. Look at what's happening in the area. Don't just put a whole bunch of houses on a piece of paper like we get from so many other developers. Give us some good, thoughtful planning. And that's what we try to do. As I go through the comprehensive plan, just to highlight a few things, it talks about how Monco 2040 land use plan is consistent with the township's future land use plan. And while this site wasn't shown to be a different use, the comprehensive plan for the township was also adopted in 2019 prior to COVID. So I think we can all say that a lot of us didn't see a lot of the changes that came with COVID since then. Just to highlight a few things, there's only about 15% of the township has townhouses. The comp plan talks about how townhouses can be an attractive housing choice for many households based on factors such as affordability and reduced home maintenance responsibilities, et cetera, that come with townhouse use. Interestingly, the comp plan talks about how Plymouth Township's population will increase by 2,281 individuals by 2045. And it's probably important to note that as years pass, these numbers tend to grow. So my belief would be if this was done today, that number would be higher. Based on the analysis, it is estimated that 1,410 new housing units are needed to be built by 2045. That's 47 housing units per year back in 2019 again over the next 30 years. So we've advanced farther than that. And I don't think we've been at a clip of 50 units a year, although we tried. The recommendation for land use is to provide sufficient housing opportunities to meet the housing needs of the forecasted population growth over the next 20 years based on the population forecasts of DVRPC. So we take recommendations and then we start to look at what's here. So the township zoning map is up on the screen. That's the whole township. It's the latest version. So what we did was we spent some time and we looked at what is surrounding this area. So again, there's right in the middle of the screen, you see highlighted, it says office laboratory. It's outlined in red. And what I notice is that this is really a very, an area of substantial transition. And there's a lot of thoughtful transitions. And if I go down the line, and if you work from the Pennsylvania Turnpike west, let's call it to the top right of the page, or if you go along the Pennsylvania Turnpike, you can see that there is a variety of uses. One of the big ones I'll point out is that Donna Drive and Ashley Way is also D-residential. While it's not contiguous, it's really, really close, right along the Pennsylvania Turnpike corridor. But if you go from use to use, so you have interchange, and from interchange you go to that residential special, which is Sussex Square Apartments. Today, that would transition to office laboratory. Tomorrow, hopefully, that could be D-residential, which then makes its way to B-residential, which is Alexander Drive and Sebastian Lane that we built at Plymouth Valley Estates, and then to A-residential. If you go the other way, you have the industrial park further out, 276, that comes to D-residential again, which transitions to B, which transitions to A. So this is a pretty consistent fit with what is happening in this area of the township. So our proposal, the plan before you, as Kristen mentioned, has 159 townhouses on it. The existing office laboratory building that's on the aerial, this is the Mission Kids office. This is Alexander Drive. This is Sussex Square to the top right of the page. The Mission Kids building would remain. It's a 37,000 square foot building that would be on close to 9 acres. remaining 29.5 acres would be our proposed rezoning to D-residential. The townhouses would have 3 to 4 bedrooms, and I say 3 to 4 because you get some people who want to finish that basement, or they might have, a flex room that is used as a bedroom. 2.5 to 3.5 bathrooms, 1 to 2-car garages. We are showing a split in the style of houses. If you're looking at your screens, it would be to the left side of your screen, closer to Alexander Drive, where this area is what I'm going to call the larger of the two footprints. It's a 26-foot wide by 54-foot deep home. It's about 2,200 to 2,500 square feet, 2 stories, with most likely a 2-car garage. Those units can become deeper in many cases to accommodate a slightly larger home, potentially a first-floor master, to accommodate the empty nester buyer. The smaller footprint, which would border the turnpike and the apartments, is a 3-story unit. It's 24 feet wide, 40 feet deep. Again, about 2,250 square feet to 2,400 square feet. But it's definitely a different product. A couple things to point out with this design. It's not just a bunch of units put on paper that, should we get to land development, everything changes. Rolf Graf and his team at Landcorp were very thoughtful about stormwater. Again, it is a code-compliant design for D-residential. We have sidewalk that would extend up to Plymouth Road. This plan shows sidewalk on the more populated side of our internal streets. We have not updated it since February. We did that to be a little bit sensitive to stormwater, but if the township would like to see sidewalk on both sides of the streets, we can absolutely accommodate that.
Where are the sidewalks?
The sidewalks start here, Karen, run all the way around, and then out to Plymouth Road. Then there's some internal circulation as well.
So no sidewalk on the Alexander Drive side?
There's no sidewalk shown here, but again, we can add that. We were trying to be thoughtful about stormwater. It's such a big consideration today. Certainly a big supporter of the pedestrian connectivity of a community. It's important.
Children would get to the bus stop up
It's absolutely a good point, and we can work with it. There are smaller stormwater management areas spotted around the design. There's 3 of them shown, and there's also an expansion of the existing stormwater in the top right-hand portion of the plan. We would suggest relocating the entrance on North Gravers Road. At the bottom of the screen, it's a little hard to see, but it's a little bit closer to the turnpike, closer to that curve on North Gravers. If we bring it a little bit further up the hill, closer to the Pico power lines, there's much better sight distance, a much safer access point. While the ordinance permits 8 dwelling units per acre, on the gross acreage, we're at 5.35. Based on the developable acreages that is required to be calculated in the ordinance, we're at 6.88. One of the big things in any community, and of course this one, is parking. 350 parking spaces would be required. They are included on this design, and it's important to point out that that's 350 parking spaces, not counting garages. There's a clause in the ordinance that you can't count the garages, or you can only count 1 out of 2. So what we did was we didn't count any garage space. So there's plenty of parking, and it's spread out around the community. It's not one parking lot plunked in the middle that, yes, it meets the ordinance, but it's not functional. This is equally spread out almost all throughout the community. Sorry, it's a long presentation. We tried to put a lot of thought into it. So, what are the things that we all get questions from the public and that you all ask us over the years of what's going to happen with the site. Stormwater, traffic, taxes, green space, open space. So we have some information on that as well. The impervious coverage from the existing use, not the additional office space, just the existing use, is a reduction of 81,000 square feet, almost 2 acres. The percentage goes from 42.4 to 36.7, while 50% is permitted. The building coverage does increase less than 3%, but it only goes up to about 14.6% when 35% would be permitted under D residential. So it's really a lot less than is permitted by ordinance. The green space, as a result, increases from 57.6 to 63.3, almost an acre and a half. Open space exceeds the 20% requirement by almost 8.5%. And as I mentioned, we more than cover all the parking needs. So as we get into it, everybody's going to say, well, there's so many more cars. There's not. Existing to current weekday AM and PM trips is reduced by almost 50%. If we were to look at the approved site that is not built, it is dramatically less. It's like a 65 to 70% reduction. Interestingly, if you compare the approved land development to what we're proposing, it's 2,000 plus fewer cars per day. So as Exeter has owned the property, they've gone through some tax appeals. Taxes have been reduced. They were successful at the County Board of Assessments because they were able to show that they have a bunch of empty offices. They're currently paying about $157,000 a year in taxes on the existing spaces. Our taxes, if the development was constructed, would come in at slightly over $1,100,000. As a comparable, I used Coal Point Village, which is down at the corner of Plymouth Road and Butler Pike behind the new Biscuit Lady in Arugula. Those are about the same size, so I thought that was a pretty good comp. And those are based on this year's taxes. So a almost $950,000 per year increase for the county, the township, and the schools.
And they're
Taxes
annual
at
taxes, right? Not transfer taxes?
Correct, annual taxes.
Okay.
Transfer taxes are not part of the calculation.
Those, is that the taxes for just the townhouses, not counting the restaurants, dry cleaners, Biscuit Lady, all of that?
Correct. So what I did there is, if you look in the middle of the screen, there's a value at $623,000, and I believe that's if I take the common level ratio on the assessed value, that's how it would be assessed. So there's your county and township tax for one unit, and there's your school tax for one unit, and then we multiplied it by 159 units, and that's how we come up with $1,001,000. Yes, the restaurants are totally separate. You got it. So a big windfall would be coming in. Just to give you an idea, some pictures. Got to have pretty pictures, right? This is an example of what the 3-story units could look like. This is what we built down at Village Station Circle a few years ago behind the CVS at Plymouth Road and Butler Pike. This is a 6-unit building. It's 3 stories. The garage shows one door. It's like a 1.5-car garage. So often you get that 1-car garage. It fills up with a lot of other stuff. The trash cans end up outside. The cars are in the driveway. So there's another half space there. If you look at the unit on the left, there's like a substantial amount of stone on that wall. That's the rest of the garage. So there's plenty of room in there for storage. A couple pretty pictures of the inside of the units. Nice open floor plans, great for entertaining. This unit, we would estimate in the high 500s and into the 600s. So it would be considered our more affordable product that we would bring to the community. And again, it would be located closer to the turnpike, and, of course, outsides, we can play with those if necessary, as far as how they're going to look. But that smaller footprint continues that concept of transition going from the turnpike to the larger footprint, because this is what we would suggest to build closer to Alexander Drive. Again, it's a larger home. We would estimate sales in the mid-600s and up. We are currently getting ready to start construction on these homes over in Maple Glen and Horsham Township. They've been very well received so far, and it would probably lend itself more to the empty nest buyer or the move-up buyer, who we would see buying these homes. Historically, all of our communities have pretty much drawn a mix of empty nesters, move-up buyers who are buying our houses.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Yep.
So along those lines, I know one of the things people always ask about is the number of school children, new school children we might anticipate in a complex like this. Do you have any numbers for that?
Well, I wish I did. It's a little hard to project. I can only go on what we've done in the past, that it usually is a mix. I mean, we see a lot of people who are moving into homes like you see on the screen now. They're ready to move out of their large home. So I would expect an empty nest buyer. I know in our community, Maple Glen, the first few buyers, I think, we have 4 sold and we don't have the roads in yet. I think 2 or 3 out of the 4 are empty nesters.
Coal Point Village, because it's going to look a little bit like Coal Point.
Coal Point Village was really a very strong, almost 50-50, 40-60 split between empty nesters and what I'll just call younger families. That was really a good split. I mean, there's certainly going to be younger families who want to move here. Being able to walk to Plymouth Elementary is a huge attraction. They walk from Alexander Drive and Sebastian Lane up to Plymouth Elementary now. But we would expect both, and we would target our marketing to both as well.
Anticipate that there would be traffic light and crosswalk to get over to the elementary school side?
There is currently a crosswalk and all the signalization at Alexander Drive that lines up with the entrance to Plymouth Elementary. We went through a lot of planning with PennDOT, redid some of the flashers. All the sidewalk has been installed along Plymouth Road. All the widening is already complete, so I would not expect PennDOT to come back and ask for more right-of-way. But that crosswalk at Alexander Drive at Plymouth Road across from the school is already supported by a crossing guard police officer today.
So for families with children who are living on the Alexander Drive side of here, is there a sidewalk that would take them straight up to Plymouth Road so that they could go left to the crossing guard? Or do they have to go around to the other side of Mission Kids and then make their way?
We kicked around some ideas about that because there is that little finger, and I think if we get into the land development process, we can discuss those options. We're trying to be respectful of Mission Kids and what they're doing there in their fragile environment, so we want to have communications with them about what might best suit their needs and our needs to get those kids up to Plymouth.
That's why we're showing that walkway over here. Right now, we met with Mission Kids. It's actually a good segue. We met with them last week. We had a great meeting. They were very supportive of the use. They were happy to see that there would be more residential around their offices. The things that I think you would expect to be addressed, we talked about, we would maintain their access, maintain their utilities. They wanted to make sure that they still had 2 access points inside the community, and we are showing that on our plans. A buffer was very important to them, so they were very happy when we explained that the current entrance road, sorry for the shakes, the current entrance road today comes down their property line. And what we would do is we would swing it away from their property, so it would almost double the green space buffer between the townhouses and their office. They were really happy to see that.
Because there's green on their side and our side of that dark line.
Correct, yes. And we're not proposing to change their lot lines at all, although one of the things they did ask about was this strip, and that we left that open for discussion with them. I don't think it is, and we have to look at it a little bit closer, I don't think it's a zoning need for green space or site area that we have that. So Mission Kids was thinking about, do they like the idea of owning that property to increase their buffer from Alexander Drive? So that's where that was left off, but nothing firm.
So that long, thin, like, line, that's not the sidewalk, it's the other winding one that's the sidewalk?
Yeah, so, the winding line along the edge of the road is the sidewalk. What you're seeing here that looks like a sidewalk or a road, it's actually the setback. So we're showing the setback lines around the perimeter of the site. Sorry if that's deceiving.
The parcel line goes up in that weird configuration, so they showed the setbacks from it, and that's that dotted line you see in the middle.
I think it was a zoning compliance area
Frontage, yeah.
back when it was done, because this today is 4 separate parcels. And I think this parcel here is landlocked except for that 50-foot strip out to Plymouth Road.
Gotcha. And so you're saying the main entrance to this neighborhood would actually be on Gravers Road, not Plymouth Road?
There would be two.
Cars.
There would be 2 points of access. 2 points of access, one on Gravers, one on Plymouth Road. We did discuss that with Mission Kids as well. No problems at all. They actually liked it because most likely, the way our conversations led the other day, is that the residential community would probably take over a majority of the responsibility for the entrance road off of Plymouth Road. We would share in common maintenance items like landscaping and signage out front along Plymouth Road. But being a nonprofit organization, they really liked the idea that the homeowner association could come in and help support those maintenance needs. They also said that while they would like to have the permission for access out to Gravers Road, North Gravers Road, they don't intend to have that being used for access. It's not something that they would advertise to anybody coming to their offices, but we would not restrict that access. Their main entrance they consider to be Plymouth Road.
There's no way to predict how much traffic would be specifically on Gravers Road, and the only reason I ask this is because the Donna Drive neighborhood all use this parking complex, or this, corporate complex as like a place to walk.
Oh, okay.
And I can tell you that all of them would be here going, why did you take away our space to walk if they could no longer get across Gravers Road?
Yeah, no, they'll be able to get across Gravers Road, and they'll have sidewalks. Probably on both sides of the street. Yeah, so we had a very good meeting with Mission Kids, and what they're doing, it's a whole other discussion, but what they're doing in their building is amazing.
Well, just to kind of dovetail off Kristen's question, so there's no chance that this community would have the look or feel of a gated community, so if neighbors did want to walk around, walk through?
That wouldn't be our intent, no. In all my years here, and I think all my fathers before me, I think we only built one gated community, and never in Plymouth Township.
Just thinking about that, I just wanted to be clear that if people are looking to walk, to pass through, to get closer to elementary school, or just to walk, that's reasonable.
That connectivity is important.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all over Monco 2040. It's in your comp plan. And in fact, when we did Plymouth Valley Estates, we didn't have sidewalks all along Johnson Road and Plymouth Road. We had a trail connection internally to get from Sebastian Lane to Alexander Drive. And council actually came back to us after the comp plan was passed, or when it was in discussion, I think, and said, yeah, you got to put sidewalks in. So we're...
It's like a paved path, right? That's not a sidewalk?
There's a paved path that connects those two phases, but the sidewalk on Johnson Road was not in our initial designs. And all I'm getting at is we understand the importance of the township sidewalk and pedestrian connectivity. Yep.
Stormwater basins, would they all be fenced off so kids don't, little tiny kids don't get in the water?
We usually like to do that. I don't think Plymouth's ordinance requires it, or in land development, but we usually fence them. If we don't, it's because they're nowhere near homes. But it's an attractive nuisance for sure.
So at the bottom of the Mission Kids property, it connects their parking lot. Is it showing that, correct?
Yep.
It's connecting their parking lot to essentially the road down there. It's like a little tree.
Right here.
Right there. So we had some questions. Some of us had some questions about folks getting up to the top near where the bus, or not the bus, the school crossing is. Where is that? Can you point that out with your laser pointer again?
So there's sidewalk more or less throughout on this plan.
But where's the crosswalk near the school up at Plymouth Road?
The crosswalk?
Yeah, you said there was a crosswalk or crossing?
Right there.
There's a crossing right here.
Right there, okay. So wouldn't most people walk up through the parking lot over into the residential property next door and up through there, or is there no sidewalks there? Would that be a more direct route?
There's a gate right here.
Oh, there's a gate, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's a gate that has a Knox lock on it, and the only person that has that key is sitting behind me. That's your fire marshal. And maybe your police chief.
Yeah, that answers my question, right?
Yeah. So, happy to answer as many questions as you would like. I think the biggest thing for us, as Kristen mentioned, is Exeter has us on a pretty short leash, and I'm sorry for that. But we would hope that you like what we're saying, and that we could submit an application for rezoning quite soon, with the goal of having that passed no later than the end of October of this year. And I think just to circle back on it, we've really tried to be thoughtful in the planning. We're not coming in here trying to max out the density. One of the things that Rolf Graff pointed out to me before was that a lot of townhouse communities, sorry to steal your thunder, the units can get pretty close. A lot of times that separation is 25 or 30 feet. Your ordinance calls for 50 feet when there's windows facing each other. So what this design does, prepared by Rolf and his team, is the separation between all of the buildings is at 50 feet. The assumption is we'll have windows on the side, which is a very good assumption. So if you were to place yourself within the community walking around, it might not feel as congested as some others do. And we're certainly not interested in having a blank wall just so we can get more units in. That wouldn't be very marketable. There's a lot of areas in the township and surrounding townships where you have empty office space. And it doesn't always work to redevelop. You look at it and what can we do? And this one, it really does just seem to fit for all those transition uses I mentioned earlier. Exeter and the other office developers and owners are in business, of course, right? It helps avoid that condemnation by neglect concept. It avoids the IKEA over by the mall, which I don't think anybody wants to see. And, I was in a separate meeting, and someone said to me that someday or at some point, unless this office market turns, then you risk blight. And nobody wants to see that. And I'm certainly not suggesting that Exeter property would let that happen. However, I think this is one key spot again where we can really be thoughtful about the planning, do something that's really good for the community, that's consistent with suggested uses in the area, consistent with comprehensive plans. And other than that, that's my pitch.
How confident are you that you can build units next to where there's the existing stormwater basin that'll be extended and the other two that you'll plan? Like, how confident are you that you won't even be able to put buildings there because of stormwater, that you may have to eliminate a few of these units?
I mean, listen, we're certainly confident that we can build adjacent to a stormwater management basin. But this plan is not fully vetted. It's not fully engineered. Land Corps has not worked on topography. So, I mean, that potential does exist that as we go through the land development process and we look at your land development ordinance, we may lose some units for sure. We don't see the number going up. We think that it's about as dense as it can get. But as we work on stormwater, as we work on grading, that possibility certainly exists.
What did you say the price, like the starting price of the smaller units was?
We think we'd be in the 500s. And they would, when people start to add some things, they would go up into the 6s. It's, right now especially, it's a little hard to tell where some of these costs are going, but that's what we see in the market. We ran all the comps. That seemed to be the right number. And what we think is really nice about it is it addresses a need in the area because houses are only getting more and more expensive. And by doing it this way, we can help manage that affordability crisis a little bit, but still provide.
Do you think starting at $500K is affordable? Yeah.
Well, today, yeah, I mean, for what it costs to build a house, and I'm not suggesting that it's not a lot of money, but for what it costs to build a new house, that's a very affordable number. I mean, next door and on Alexander Drive, those houses are reselling for north of $1 million.
Oh, I know what the prices are in
yeah.
the area. I'm just saying I don't think that's the same definition. Our definition of affordable is the same as a builder's definition of affordable.
Right.
So my question was really if affordable is really looking at like $300,000, $350 starting price, how does this actually help the shortage of housing? Because the shortage is affordable housing, not housing.
Well, I think it's all relative. I mean, I think there's a shortage in general. I mean, on my way over here, I had a phone call from, another builder, and he was asking, where are you looking for lots because I can't find lots. And there are people who are calling all the time who are looking for homes. When it comes to trying to push the pricing down into the 300s, you have to change things like square footage and make them smaller. It becomes a little bit of an economic challenge when we're looking at, there is a purchase price value, and that's not something that we can change. And the cost of roads, the cost of pipe, that's not something we're going to be able to change. And the time it takes and the cost involved with engineering and design and reviews isn't going to change. So, when we get to the part of how we get to the affordability number, it is really left to matching up square footage with price. And, we can only make the unit so small and still provide what people want, especially when, we have homes like Alexander Drive where we're trying to complement what those people, built and spent on their homes. So that's why we tried to introduce two different products. That's the best answer I can give you. Yeah.
Do you anticipate that these townhouses will have decks?
I do. Yeah. Exterior living is a huge part of today's lifestyle, whether it's new construction or not. And we considered them in this design. There's a little box on the back of the homes that you see.
I was wondering if those were decks. Thanks.
Yep, you got it.
So there's a few things I think that we're always thinking about when we think about new housing. One is the affordability issue, which Kristen has raised. One for us is density, trying to manage and minimize density in any place where there's new housing. And then the third is like, does this match sort of the general character of the neighborhood, of the surrounding neighborhood? I think this does match the general character of the surrounding neighborhood. So, and we appreciate your thoughtfulness in terms of creating a product or a plan that did sort of fit into the space and fit into that part of Plymouth. So appreciate that. I think we've probably shared some of our concerns around the affordability issue, knowing that these may be more affordable houses, but not affordable houses. So I think that's probably always something that's on our minds. And the density issue. So I just want to be clear. There's the possibility, from what you said, that there would be fewer homes here, but clearly not more. There's no circumstance under which you'd be looking to put more townhouses on this property. Is that absolutely true?
Absolutely true.
Okay.
More than 159 units max.
No more than 159.
But
You
the
got it.
possibility it might be less when the plan in its final state accommodates things like stormwater management or any other sort of topographical issues, there could be less.
There could be, yes.
And is there any chance you're amenable to less? Like, is 159 sort of like, that's the number?
Well, for the purpose of where we are now, we would really like to stay at the 159. And the reason being is, we have milestones that we have to meet in our commitments to Exeter. And if we start at a lower number, and then we go through the land development process, and we start taking away units because of topography or stormwater management, now all of a sudden we're fighting to get back up to the number that we have to manage for Exeter. The 50-foot setback between buildings might change, which changes the feel of the community. So what we'd really rather do is work with all of you, with your staff and administration, to work on making this plan the best plan it can be. And if it ends up at 152 or instead of 159, so be it. If it ends up at 147, then 159, then so be it. But at least it's the right plan. And we're not trying to, force something that just shouldn't be, but it complies. I hope that works.
Questions from any other council members?
Okay?
We've already talked about this. These will be owned townhouses, not rental properties.
Yeah, we're not looking to build a rental community. Yeah.
So this being a workshop, I'm assuming that you'll discuss it with your solicitor, and maybe Alex could call and give me the feedback. We would love to submit an application to get that going for the rezoning, and then if we're successful there, we would move forward to address these land development issues, and then the full engineering would be done. We would have better information to find out exactly how this design might be tweaked, but we've done enough preliminary work to know that this is probably a good, sketch as far as we are right now. So we do have a tight timeline, so don't want to say that for a third time, but I just did. So we thank you for your time tonight. And if anything comes up between now and then, obviously, we're here to answer any questions you would have.
I know we've been very cognizant of the fact that you're looking to put residential between two existing residential, with the Alexander Drive houses and the Sussex apartments. So it's not as if you are plunking residential somewhere where there's nobody living. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
you're
you for
welcome.
the plans
Thank
you
you.
brought.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Appreciate it. Thanks for getting us in here.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, next we do the town hall meeting now at our workshop? Okay, yes. So next up is the town hall meeting that's coming up on April the 30th to talk about traffic calming, and that's going to be throughout our township. I know there are many residential areas. There's Cunnytown, there's the Valley, the East Valley, Jolly Road, and those side streets where people are very much concerned about speeding and danger to children. So we're committed to learning about traffic calming and learning with our community and hearing our community's concerns. I know that there's been a lot of work put in by our township manager, by our police, and others, Public Works and all. So you want to let us know where we are with this, Matt?
Sure, thank you. Appreciate that. So staff has been working diligently on crafting a traffic calming policy. And so where we are at now, and thank you to Chief and his crew for really taking the lead on that drafting of that document. It's been forwarded to our traffic engineer for his review and comments, which I am expecting by this Friday. Once I get his comments integrated into this draft policy document, I'm going to circulate it to council for your review and comments. And then we've scheduled a coordination meeting for early mid next week, just to talk about how we are going to organize this meeting. And I'm really looking forward to kind of having this meeting designed in three different ways. First being an educational component, that being having our traffic engineer give us a crash course in what is traffic calming. What does that mean? Let's get all the definitions out there. Second thing would be from a staff level, if you think like 30,000-foot view, now we're coming into a landing, like 10,000-foot view, talk about the draft traffic calming policy, how we anticipate interacting with residents to establish traffic calming policy. What does that mean? The criteria in which we will use to evaluate. And then finally, an opportunity for resident feedback coming into landing. Once you hear all the first two, the third section being an interactive feedback from the residents. I'd also like to open this up to Chief. He'd like to talk about a pretty remarkable software that we've been messing around with that will really help. I'm sorry, I'm nerding out a bit. And it's amazing, and it's just, to not oversell it, it's a really a revolutionary way that we can leverage real-time connected device data to generate traffic volume for the township. And so I don't know if Chief, if you had any additional information you wanted to add to that, but just thank you for finding it. It was through the police department's activity that he explored this, we identified it, and we're moving forward with it.
Because you need me to, do I need to?
Well, I guess so, because maybe for the minutes or whatever, wherever you're comfortable, Chief.
Just briefly, so you know about it, it's a program called Urban SDK. And essentially, it's got all the documentation already in it. It works off of cars, LoJack's, Bluetooth. So it already comes with 13 months worth of data. So whereas police now might get a complaint about a certain area, we have to set up a traffic detail there with all of our equipment. We have to leave it out there for a week to gather a week's worth of data. Then we have to bring it back and we have to review it. Essentially what this does is a couple clicks of a button, literally 10, 20, 30 seconds, and we have 13 months worth of data. And then on top of that, after you've had this for a year, it gives you a total of 25 months worth of data. And then as you go on, you'll drop off a month, you'll add a month. So what we can do then is be proactive, and we can determine problem areas before we even get complaints. We can also determine whether any traffic calming devices are needed there or warranted there. And that's aside from the fact that the police can always address these areas regardless of any traffic calming needs. If there's a problem, if there's a complaint, if there's a perception of a problem, we can always go out there and we can deal with it. But the nice part about this is this information will tell us that typically there are problems
Tuesday afternoons from 4 to 5, which might indicate somebody's getting off of work and speeding down the street. So when residents say there's a speeding problem and we put somebody there for hours and they find nothing, now I can have people detail, I want you sitting on this road at this time on this day, and then I can hit multiple spots just by going over the data. So this is going to be, it is going to be a game changer for us. We're going to be able to be more proactive, do a lot more before residents even have to come to us with the problem. We can go to them, and we can share this data. We can share their data with them to say, here's your neighborhood, here's your street, and we can share that information so they can see it for themselves. There's no secrets there. Sorry, no secrets there. So that's essential. I don't know if you have any questions about it, but it's a good system, very good.
Saying that we don't have to have officers sitting in a car counting vehicles and measuring their speeds. It's already in a computer somewhere. And
Not only we don't have to have them sit there to do that, but I've sent officers when I have somebody who might be retired and sits on their porch and says, I'm watching this go on all day, and I'll send an officer there. He says, I sat there for 2 hours. Not only I didn't see any violations, I saw one car come up to the stop sign at all. But this way, yeah, I'm sure that person has seen something. I know exactly what time and what day to send that officer down there. So not only it saves our time, but then we can use that time to hit a whole lot more spots. So.
Yeah, it's really going to revolutionize how we manage the staff time to collect and analyze that data. You know, up to this point, we get a complaint, chief sends his traffic crew out, they conduct a traffic study, they count the data, it takes weeks to put it out there, to analyze it, go collect the data, come back, scrub it, and that's a good month to get one road segment. And now we have the ability to have every road segment instantaneously. And I really like the ability, as Chief mentioned, the public connectivity to this. When we get this request, we can then have that data, we can create a report and then submit that report to that requester to say, hey, look, this is the data, this is what we're seeing. It is an issue and we're on it, or actually it's not an issue and this is why. Now, there's a public component of it too that I'm really excited about. This does not replace the traffic calming policy. This works in union with the traffic calming policy. This is just a tool in our toolbox to be able to generate really good proactivity through those requests.
gives us objective data to work with.
Yes.
Rather than subjective, you know, I'm sitting outside and I see all these cars speeding by when in fact that may not be the case, so.
And it's dynamic. It's always changing. When we go and do a in-person traffic count, that's a snapshot in time. That's only as good as that day, that period of time. Here, it's changing daily, hourly. So don't lose sight of that also.
No, I like it. It's evidence and it's objective. Two of my favorite words.
And it was within the budget.
Oh, well.
Wonderful.
That's my first favorite word.
I love that it lets us be proactive instead of reactive. We don't have to wait till someone comes to us. We can proactively be in front of these things, which I think is fantastic. I think it's also a great use of your resources, Chief. I mean, you and your team have a lot of things to tend to, and I love that this is a much better use of resources. And we're connected to the community. I mean, we can be engaging with them around the traffic calming policy and just be, you know, quickly responsive when there's something we find. I love it. It's great. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank
Lastly,
you, Chief. You're right. It's a game changer. It's a great word.
And lastly, we're also working on developing a flyer for the event that we can use to start advertising it, circulate that around. It's not finalized yet. Thanks for Chief and his crew for coming up with the draft. Once we get that finalized, we'll start hitting the social media and the website to promote the event.
And I think, you know, each of us as council members belong to various social media neighborhood pages, and we can certainly advertise this because we don't want to go to all this work and not have people be unaware of it. But I'm also hoping that it will be videotaped and available for those who can't come on that one evening because of school events or work conflicts.
Yes, and I'm happy to report that we are working on, and I believe we've got everything set up to be able to live stream the town hall.
Okay. But if people want to
Want to interact and ask questions, you have to be
you have
here
to be
in person.
here. Okay.
Yes.
I know, Chief, I know you're on this, Matt, I know you're on this, but the sooner we can get our hands on the flyer, the better.
Yes.
I would love to, I will physically walk them down Jolly Road. I mean, I'm going to knock on doors and hand them out. I don't want to run the risk that someone didn't see it just because they're not on social media. There's a lot of people that would be
Agreed, yeah.
very interesting.
Maybe some of the streets in the valley, too, we can cover, because I know they have a lot of concerns. Their children tend to play in the front yards with each other, ride their bikes, and traffic calming is a real important matter for them. Have any other items tonight, Chief, for the workshop?
I do, actually. I'll keep it quick. I just wanted to let council know, in discussions I had with the manager, we talked about that maybe at every meeting when you do call on the police, there'd be certain items that would just keep the public up to date on, certain things that they would find interesting or important to them. So just briefly, some of the stuff, since traffic calming has been a big issue in general, I just wanted council to know that as I keep our statistics, the first quarter of our traffic details this year in comparison to the first quarter of last year I was able to do 34 of those details. With the extra people that you gave me, this quarter we did 317. So certainly that helps with the traffic calming efforts. Same thing with first quarter of our traffic stops, 673 last year, 1,501 this year, so more than double. So we're using those resources, and we're using them specifically for the things that are important to our residents. In the same vein, our directed patrols, which I told you I was going to do with shopping districts, parks, businesses, resident vacation notices, we were able to do 151 of those directed patrols just in March. So again, we're utilizing those resources that you gave us. I was going to let everyone know about our Crime Watch platform that we have. It's something that we have had for a while. One of the things that we're adding to it, and it should be done by next week. It's been difficult to get it completed, but the one component we're trying to get is crime mapping. And that's something that the community will be able to go on, check out their own neighborhood, check out certain areas, look for what incidents happen there. It's very interactive, as well as the rest of the Crime Watch platform, which is on our Facebook if anybody wants to go on there. That's where you see some of our wanted posters are on. Recently we had that stolen puppy that we put on there that was recovered. So, I mean, it's all part of that same platform. We did secure a time for our police town hall. Not that necessarily that it's just for the police, certainly would like council there as well. It's the last day of Police Week in May, Saturday, May 17th from 11 to 1. And I don't know if you had a chance to see what we proposed as a flyer. I was waiting for council to take a look to see if they liked it, and then at that point we would also start advertising that event. That would be at the community center, where pretty much we're going to do a review of 2024 based on the annual report that I did, and then a look ahead of things that are happening. But I was also going to use this occasion to answer any kind of questions that the community might have. So I'm going to contact certain groups like CARC. I have good relationships with the Norris, Cheltenham branches of the NAACP, and let them know if they want to even give me some scripted questions that they want me to research, if they would just like to hit us with some things, but it would be interactive in that way that anything could be asked. I wanted to let council know about our co-responder program that we started in March. We only did 21 days in March because that's how long it took us to get started. But in that 21 days, we had 41 social service follow-ups, which was quite a bit. It's very well received. People are calling and saying how they love it. They're calling their own townships and saying, how come we don't have it? So it's been a nice thing. I'm curious to see where we're at for the month of April when we have a full month under our belt. Also, Cops Guarding Stops is another program that we started, and we've been doing that twice a month. Not many violations, but when we have found them, we violated or cited the offenders. An anti-bullying program is something that our community policing unit has forwarded their presentation to the Colonial Middle School for their review. So they're working together with them. That was something that came up from a community group and members of the school board. So we put something together, and we're trying to get a program going on. And other than that, I just, when the time comes, if council does choose to recognize Dr. Paulette Jones from the Civil Service Commission, I would like just to say a few words about her. She was special to us, and we still work closely with her. Okay, thank you.
Of course,
and these
yeah.
are a lot of the things that I would like to mention at our regular council meeting, just to keep the community advised. I'm just going to try and do that as a monthly thing.
Thank you very much, Chief. And I'm sorry, Matt, I kind of skipped over. I don't know if you had anything else besides the town hall to talk about tonight at the workshop.
Just, so long as we can go through and assign who wants to do what for each of these action items would help me create the meeting packet.
Okay.
I think we jumped right to the end to an information item. I
We
appreciate
did,
that.
And that's my fault.
It's
so,
okay. It's all right.
Apologize for that. So who would like to announce the town hall meeting at our regular meeting next Monday? All right, Lynn will announce the town hall meeting. And the chief will make some remarks, but who wants to present the resolution to Dr. Jones for her service on our Civil Service Commission? Okay, thank you, Kristen. Okay, next under administration, we will have a motion to approve the change order from Wind Gap Electrical. I assume that's all within our budget, and we can...
It is, and actually, we have Rick Carbo here. If,
Okay, Rick.
He can provide some background for council.
Yeah, so we have, so I forwarded two change orders with regards to the municipal building construction project. They're both from Wind Gap Electric. The first one in the amount of $11,906.48. That was for all the work to provide the automatic doors that the building, some may remember, the building was designed without automatic doors, so we added them later. This is the work to provide electric and card readers and such for the doors to make them operational. And then the second is a change order also from Wind Gap Electric for fire protection devices that were added as part of the walkthrough from the building inspector. And that is in the amount of $1,644.11. I don't know if there's any questions on those, but we are required to have council's approval for all change orders.
Any council member can take it.
Anyone who in particular wants to do two motions to approve, or maybe one motion for two change orders?
Yeah, I can do it.
Aaron, thank you very much.
It could be one motion if it's going to the same.
To the same recipient,
Contract.
Wind Gap, okay. Thank you. And we have our bid for the pedestrian signal at New Elm and Light Streets. The bid has come in. Matt, you want to tell us about
I can
that?
provide a little background for that. This was to install the pedestrian signal at New Elm and Light Streets in Huntingtown. That went out out to bid a couple of weeks ago, and the bid closed March 31st, and I'm happy to report that we received 3 viable bids. Details were shared with council as part of the meeting packet tonight. The lowest qualified bidder and our traffic engineer has reviewed the applicant and has recommended that council consider approving the award to approve the, oh my goodness, to award the bid, there it is, to the lowest qualified bidder of Lenny Electric Corporation out of Chester, PA, at a total cost of $123,201. And while it is in excess of the budgeted amount of 2025 for all of Penny Town improvements, which we budgeted $75,000, I did confer with Kellen, our finance director, and he's comfortable that we still have, we have sufficient funds to fund this project.
That's good. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for getting all of that done, and engineers and everybody else who took part in that, other departments. So a motion to award the bid will be done by a council member? Councilor Ellis, thank you.
I do that one?
District, isn't it? Yes,
is.
Mr. Whitney, you may.
Could I back up to letter C? I have something that I'd like to ask council for a motion to approve the departmental reports and schedule of bills. Up to this point, this is a continued digitization of our business processes. Up to this point, if you've noticed in our business meetings, we've had this folder that gets printed out, and all of the departmental reports and schedule of bills gets printed and gets put on this table out here. That is the public inspection. Would council be in favor of staff posting the departmental reports and the schedule of bills, which are all publicly accessible, to the township's website along with the agenda? Therefore, we can forego putting that on the table.
I think it's a good idea. I think it actually makes it more accessible and available. Like if you don't happen to be here or you didn't walk to the front of the room, you actually didn't know it was available. If it's on our website, then anyone has access to it.
In my time here, I've never seen anybody come up and look at the reports.
I suspect people don't know they're there.
Yes.
I didn't. I knew we had agenda set out, but I didn't know all the detailed reports.
Announce it, though? Should we announce it at our meeting?
Yeah, I think we
'Cause
should.
You might not know, you can go look. If we announce it and let people know they're available.
I usually do the motion to approve minutes and departmental bills, so I will add in an announcement that what was formerly available in print in a black folder, nobody knew, will now be available to the public on our website. So I will add an announcement about that.
Would it be safe to assume that if someone was live streaming our meeting or watching it later and said, I don't have easy access to that, or I'm having trouble getting it, they could reach out to you and we'll make it available some other way?
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move down to Public Works and Sewer.
Chris is not with us tonight.
Right, did he leave you any messages? Okay.
We are currently hiring for part-time summer help for sanitation. So, wink, nudge, nudge, if you know anybody, spread the word.
They can lift 50 pounds, put in,
It's hard work.
yeah, it is, in the summer. But it will certainly help our Public Works Department, especially sanitation, if they can have that extra help during vacation, popular vacation months. So high schoolers, or college kids home and, want to keep up their fitness program. Engineering, anything tonight?
One thing, Tim and I talked at our staff meeting this morning about the survey that we need to do for the MS4 program. I think Matt and Tim have had some discussions about it. I don't know if members of the council are familiar with this program. It's a DEP program that every municipality in the state has to comply with. And what we have, there are certain obligations to do for stormwater as a township entity, not as a developer, a township entity. And what we're going to do is, we're going to look at ways to modify the Cardinal View Basin to gain some points with DEP for stormwater management. All right, so that, we talked about that survey probably happening sometime in 2025, and the actual design work could happen in 2026.
Yeah, so it's going to be a significant capital project. The upgrade, the stormwater upgrades for that basin. And in my mind, it's always good fiscal planning to budget general fund dollars the year before and anticipated capital expenditure for all of the professional services, the engineering that needs to go into it. Because you can't move forward with a capital plan without engineered drawings. And those expenses aren't typically paid out of the capital fund. Those are general fund dollars. And so talking with Tim, Lonnie, and our MS4 guru, we identified this project for us to get a pretty good credit for our MS4 regulations, PRP, Pollution Reduction Plan. It's going to be a significant capital investment. And I don't have those numbers yet, but we should be able to absorb the costs of the engineering to get us those plans. We should be doing that mid to late 2025 in preparation for 2026. Also, running concurrently, we're working with our MS4 consultant stormwater consultant to apply for grants to bring those costs down. So we're on those tracks right now. Once we have more information for you, we'll certainly share it with you in the near future.
So this is not something to discuss at the regular meeting? It's not discussion ready yet?
Maybe next month,
Okay.
but soon.
Is there any downside to doing the survey sooner, and then when we find out what the cost is of the capital project, if we decided to delay that, like with the survey being done, would we be ready to go in, even if it's 2027, or would you have to resurvey?
No.
You survey once and,
Within reason, yes.
Survey once, then we're done with that part.
even if the capital
Then we move on to
project is
hardcore
delayed?
engineering after the survey. Survey's done, it's good.
You can't have engineered plans without the survey.
Work was actually delayed, do we put ourselves in a resurveying situation?
No.
Well, do you need more than, is that the only one you need to meet the requirements? Because we have other retention basins that we maintain, detention basins.
I think right now, we're pretty confident that that's going to go a long way.
It will. I don't think we're ruling anything out yet, but I think we're getting the most bang for the buck with that one.
Other places, Rick, that we might want to consider in the future?
Justin Drive, Kareev, and then also there's a small one at the community center.
I think there are lower cost options for those smaller scales too, that don't require as much of a capital outlay as the Cardinal Drive retrofit would be. It's huge.
Big one.
It's huge.
We mow that with the outside contract too, so save some money there.
That's it.
Under subdivision and land development for
So
tonight?
I hope you noticed that I removed the laundry list of projects that really I felt was inappropriate to have on the agenda since we're not taking any action on them. And so you're going to see those pop up on the zoning officer's monthly report. That's where we're going to keep track of them, which will be attached to the departmental reports.
Okay,
So they're not going to be on the agenda, but they will be on the zoning officer's monthly report.
Okay, so we can look at that and keep up as well ourselves with extensions that might
Yes.
fall in between meetings and stuff. Don't worry about that. Code enforcement. What do you have for us tonight, Jim?
I got an email requesting a waiver. Plymouth Ambulance is going to be redoing their building to waived their permit fees. Keystone's already said they would waive their part of the fees, which is roughly 80% of the cost. And I think when I totaled out their fees, it's like $98,000. So it's a big chunk. I think our part would be somewhere around $16,000. The rest would be Keystone.
We did that for Harmonville.
Correct.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check that we did do that for Harmonville.
We did do that for Harmonville.
Going in tandem, they're right next door to each other.
Yes.
Council members have questions about waiving the fee for the ambulance reconstruction project? Any concerns? So we will put that motion.
Okay, typically what we've done is got a consensus at the workshop, and then it won't make it to the business meeting if you all are in favor of that.
Oh, we don't have to do a motion?
That's not what had been done.
Okay, so is...
Take direction this evening.
All right, is everybody in favor of it? Anyone opposed? All right, we approved it.
And on that, I would also, I'm going to be asking the Plymouth Ambulance to come in and present their plans to council as well, just so you can see their plans, see what we're talking about. We have not received them yet, and so we'll be communicating back to Plymouth Ambulance also. And Harmonville bids should be in, I believe, in a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Anything else tonight, Jim?
Later, farther down, we'll discuss.
Okay. Sounds good. Zoning? No. Sheds that need a waiver for, need approval for setbacks, nothing?
There will be, under information items, zoning hearings. That will be a part of the business meeting agenda.
So nothing to announce at the regular meeting on Monday?
There will be, which will be under the zoning hearings.
Okay, all right.
7D, no action for council
Oh, I
under
see
zoning.
it, yeah. Got it.
I know this is our first time we're working through the workshop with
Yeah.
the new
in two
redesign of the
different
agenda.
places.
So.
That's okay,
Yeah.
I'll get used to it.
Yep.
That's cool. Parks and Recreation.
Just the announcements at the end, so.
The anniversary celebration was jam-packed.
Yeah, we had
And
a
a
good
lot
time.
of happy
We
kids.
sold a lot of new passes, over 100. It's been a good day.
Wow.
A lot of fun, we had a good time.
I renewed mine that day.
Thank you.
Can't beat the discount.
Thank you.
Maybe it was my sales
It
pitch.
was. We're going to put a little more in your paycheck, Kristen, thank you. You've earned a commission.
Yeah.
Everybody
It-
see the pictures?
Yes.
Good, yeah.
It was really a great day. I mean, free pool, free basketball. The kids loved it.
We
My
went through
grandson
25 once, right?
and his friend just had a blast. So, thank you for, and we dedicated our Jaguar.
Yeah. Have
And
some
that-
good
that
pictures
was,
of that out, too.
It was great. Right. Planning and Development, no miscellaneous old business, so, all right, Chief, we're moving down to our information items, and Chief, you will, we will talk about that at the regular meeting that you have at the upcoming town hall that you already described to us, so we will make sure everybody knows that at the regular meeting. And then this one, for all of the nerds, relocating our Laserfish to the cloud.
That's me.
That's you.
Laserfish is basically where I keep our property records. And working with Len, Len has a problem. We have it based down. It's in an old server that's in bad shape and unsecurable. So Len and I were looking at things, and it's best. Laserfish has a cloud version now. So we want to take it to the cloud, and we also found out that other departments may be able to use it because it's more securable now. So we have a meeting, I think this week, to show a demo of it, and then we want to move it to the cloud. I have it in my budget to do that.
I guess on the police department town hall, that'll really be the chief announcing it, so one of us will just introduce you, and you can,
However you want. I'm prepared to talk about it if you want, but if
Okay.
council wants to announce it.
yeah, I think maybe we'll have you talk about it, but who wants to introduce and, Lynn, thank you. And Chief, you can add additional details, because I know there's a lot to it. The information item about relocating the Laserfish to the cloud, who wants to take that?
I don't think you need to.
That was just for this meeting.
That's just for here?
Yep, we're going to
Okay.
remove that from the business meeting. That was just for an informational item for you all tonight.
Okay. Citizen Board vacancy announcements? Okay, I'll do it. Zoning hearings? Aaron will take that. The upcoming events for Parks and Recreation? Okay, I'll take that. Okay, I already put my initials next to it, sorry, Lynn. Conneetown update. Who's on the wheel? I did. So you were the second. Okay, so that'll be Kristen. Glenn, you have anything for us tonight?
I can just add a little bit about that server that's an issue. It's the software that's running on that server is unupgradable. So I couldn't move the server into the 2022 server. It's still sitting on 2008. And it's a security risk if we do anything, we leave it here. So we got to do something with it, which is move it to the cloud.
That's the uploading it to the cloud.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
We were stuck because the software wouldn't allow us to upgrade for all these years, and then we just got to do something.
Rebecca, do you have anything for public workshop? Okay. Anybody else have anything for tonight? All right, so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for doing the new setup here. We'll have to talk about how it worked out and what you all think about it.